Good morning, folks. Welcome back to the old Jarhead, where we dive into everything off-grid, remote milling, and, well, everything in between. Today, we're going to dive into a game changer for our off-grid power setup out here at the cabin. The SunGoldPower Inverter. It's a 4,000 watt inverter charger, pure sine wave. And we're going to take a look at how it stands up to various power sources and why it's a leap forward, especially for me out here at the cabin. So let's get this thing out on the deck and let's have a look at it. All right, folks, you know, I still got to get this installed, but I wanted to open the box, take a look at it, show you what's inside. And, well, I mean, it's raining out here, so doing it under the cover right now is kind of nice. Plus, it gives me an idea of what I'm going to deal with when I get it in the back room. And I've still got to go back there, disconnect everything, and I might even get some rewiring done today. So let's get this open. This comes in a pretty beat up looking box, but it's very well packaged. So the first thing I noticed when I cut the box open when I first got it was they've got it lined with some, it looks like maybe birch, very, very thin plywood. So that's kind of nice. We've got a remote. This is a much more modern remote, folks. This guy here, if you can see that, this has an LED display, which my old one does not. Now, folks, that is a game changer for me because it means I'm going to be able to see what's going on my battery bank with this. So that's a big deal. It also has what looks like an RS-232 or DB9 connector on the side of it. Now, I did find that a little odd because you don't see those very often anymore. I do happen to have a serial connector that I can connect USB to serial, but I was a little surprised to see that. However, this suggests to me that you can do software updates. That's usually why they do that, so we'll look into that too. All right, we're pretty well packaged up here. Now, I did see this, and I found this odd. This looks like a temperature compensating cable. I'm not sure, so we're going to find out. It's an RJ11 connector as well. We will look in the book, folks. Now, getting this out of the box could be a bit of a challenge for me, but I have an idea. I think if we lay this big sucker on its side, might work better. Maybe even all the way over. It is very heavy, folks. Oh yeah, look at that. I'm hoping that the weather will chill out so that it'll be a little easier for me to get this back in the back room without getting soaked. But it is covered in a bag, so I think we'll be okay. This is a very heavy inverter, folks. We're going to go ahead and open it all the way up. Full disclosure, SunGoldPower did send me this to review for them. But I think if you're into off-grid power at all, it's probably worth taking a look at. This is the LFP series inverter charger, and I am going to give you a close-up look at this. All right, so the first thing I noticed, folks, I am not going to blame this on SunGoldPower. I thought this was packaged very well, but the box was kind of a bit beat up. And I've noticed that there are two dimples right here on the side, and I think you could probably see right here, it's a bit dented, like something hit it, maybe a fork or something. So I don't like that. We hope, of course, that that doesn't cause a problem. We'll find out. You've got your standard 24 volt connections, so negative and positive. Pretty simple right there. Let's take a look at the back here. So we've got auto generator start, battery temperature sensor. Hey folks, check it out. That's what I thought. Look at that, boom. So it does have a battery temperature sensor. You've got your ground, no problem. Now over here are some dip switches so that you can decide how to set this up. So we'll look in the book for those. Here's my LCD remote port. Same place on the Ames inverter. Big difference, a move forward. This has an LED readout right here, or LCD readout for battery voltage. And then you've got your battery type selector. The beauty here though is you've got classic LFP, which of course is your lithium ferrous phosphate. So LiFePO 4s. You've also got lithium AGM or sealed. Charger settings would be 29.2, so that's where we'll set that. This will be set to number 3, and then you can select charge up to a maximum of 100%. And then of course your lights to give you your states, so nothing really surprisingly new there. On the back side, input and ground here, output and another ground, so 3 wire. Now, I did see this. This is very different. This is a GFI, ground fault interrupt, right on the front. So an output socket. And then you've got your charger protect and your inverter output protect. So that's a big difference. And I like that. It just gives you one more place to plug into if you want for your outputs. So pretty straightforward, folks. DC input 24 volts. We've got AC charger 50 amps. AC input 120 volts, 50 or 60 hertz. I'm using 60 with a 40 amp max. AC output 120 volts, 4,000 watts. Otherwise, folks, I mean, there it is. Getting chilly out here, folks. It's probably 40 degrees or 45 degrees at most. Still raining. I've got to go and get in the back room here and start working back there so I can take this back there. But I wanted to talk a little bit about your power options. So I've got my Generac 6,000 watt, what they call their EcoGen series generator. You can run that into this. You have quite a few options for backup power. You can use shore power, utility power, generator, all that kind of stuff. So very compatible with a multitude of sources of power. It has a lot more options for batteries than the older ones do as well. So now you've got more options, and I love the fact that it does have these LCD remotes as well as an LCD right on this. So when I go into the back room, I'm working back there, I can look right there and see what it's showing me as well. So I really love that. I'm looking forward to getting it installed. So I need to quit yakking and get out here in the rain, get that back room opened up, cleaned up, try to figure out how everything's gonna go and get this thing installed. So I should quit yakking and get to work. I won't need this anymore. This is the charger that I bought with the LiFePO 4 batteries I've got, and I'm not going to need it now. Before I pull that SunGoldPower inverter out here, I want to do a quick kind of side-by-side. We'll show you the Ames, which I'm going to be honest, the Ames has been a good inverter. All right, so the Ames, pretty much the same here, where you've got your inputs, outputs, pretty much identical. You've got the fan on the back and your resets, but no 120 volt plug back here. So that's interesting. On top, there's no LCD display. You do have the almost exact same switch that's on top of the SunGoldPower. You've got your battery selector. That's a little harder to read. And then you've got some lights. Pretty straightforward. And then on the back, you've got the same connections. Your remote connector, some switches. You've got some more switches on the other side for what type of power you're going to use. But there's no battery temperature monitor here. And I know this is supposed to have a 2-wire generator start, but I don't see one, so maybe it doesn't. Honestly, it could have been a different inverter that I was looking at. I thought this one did, so we're going to take this down and put that SunGoldPower inverter in its place. I'm going to need to kill all my power and move this guy out of the way so that I can bring that new one in. So I think, without further ado, we'll get to it. I got everything I need, I think. So first we're going to go in here and just start clipping these zip ties. We're going to kill all the power in here so I can get this guy out of here. Shut her down. And on. All of a sudden everything went quiet. Now, fun begins. Now I mentioned on the SunGoldPower inverter how you can actually see the voltage. Well, obviously in here, with LiFePO 4 batteries with battery monitoring systems, it's not as much of an issue. However, if you're running AGMs or lead batteries, they don't have that feature, so you're not going to see what your power is on those guys. So having a battery readout right on the inverter, folks, that's actually, in my opinion, that's pretty amazing. Oh boy, it's really raining out there now, folks. Holy smokes. That's not rain, that's hail. Hail coming down. So now, let's take this. I'm going to try to spin this around for you. Kind of show you the other end of it. Oh goodness, folks, this thing is heavy. All right, so on the SunGoldPower, we had, I think, about 5 or 6 dip switches. We had the remote port. We had, over here, we had a battery temperature monitor, plus the ground. So there were more switches, remote ports, all that kind of stuff, folks. Quite a bit of difference than what you see on the back of the Ames. So I would say that that SunGoldPower inverter is really quite advanced compared to this one. So we're going to go ahead, get this out of the way, and then we're going to bring that one in. This is not super neat, folks. I get it. Temporary. All right, here we go. Holy smokes, folks. Well, physically, this is about the same size as the Ames. I thought it was bigger, but it's not. All right. Okay. Huh. Yeah. Different layout. We'll start with the ground. And of course, can't see my end of my tape. That always happens. You're like, I'm going to tape this off. I'm not going to get sparks. And then you can't get the tape off afterwards because you did too good of a job. We got it. It's an awkward place with everything the way it's set up right now. And obviously it'll be better when I get in here and make things permanent. However, for now, this should do. Well, the first thing we got to do here, folks, is see if my old eyes, we want lithium AGM2, which will give me 29.2 volts. So that's number 3. We want to go maximum power, okay, because we can do that. So this is set up for those batteries now. Now, on the back, we've got some switches. Dip switches are page 9. Low battery trip voltage. I will definitely be sticking with my Magnum Research AutoGen start switch. So SunGoldPower and Ames have the same setting, which is 21 volts. Now on a LiFePO 4 battery, that's perfectly fine. You're probably getting in that 80 to 90% range. I just personally don't like that. I want it to be higher. I don't really want to get them below 50% if I can help it. So I will hook it up to this temporarily until I get my Magnum Research one done. But I think that's something with all inverter charger manufacturers. They always put their low voltage AutoGen start to catastrophic fail, is what I was told by Ames. 21 volts. Well, I prefer to go much higher than that. That's just me. And then battery AC priority, utility or battery. We want battery priority. I think we're good to go. So let's go ahead and run some power into this guy. All right, so before we put that on, I want to make sure this thing powers up. Power's on. Click that on. I get a welcome screen here. AC power normal. Input volts 0. Load 7%. Wow. Folks, battery voltage 26.4. Inverter mode. My light came on in here. Everything is running now. So that's all working. All right. I don't know how well you can see this. I've got a LED display which is kind of rotating through some things here. Inverter mode. So we got 122 volts, 60 hertz. 26.2 volts on the batteries. So all in all, right now, we're back up and running. All right, so even though it's currently not in its position and I'm not using it, I'm not using this switch, It's showing me my AC input is 0 volts. My battery volt is 26.4. Output load is currently 0%. And if you push this button, it comes back on. Output frequency 60 hertz, output AC 122. Its work mode is inverter. It's showing batteries fully charged. No alarms, no faults. I love it, folks. Fantastic. So, what I've got to do now is I've got to take this thicker cable here, attach it to this thinner one, get it all the way back through this mess and pull it outside, and then use this gray cable to pull the new one up to the cabin. So far, folks, I'm stoked. It's working. Everything's working. I got that light's on up there. That means I got power to the cabin. Ah, nice. Despite that, it's still hailing, raining, nasty outside. So far, folks, that little dimple that I had on the other side from shipping, not a big deal. And you know, again, this is not a permanent install. This was a quick, fast, get it done in a hurry type thing. So we're going to be changing some things around this year. But right now, folks, I am super stoked. Everything is working. So I've got to try to pull this cable, get it into the cabin, get this into the cabin, and I can start using this guy. Oh my gosh. I'm going to know what my battery voltages are. It's going to be awesome. Then I've just got to fish out of this wall where my 2-wire autogen start switch is, cut that cable, and wire it in back here. I may actually have to turn power off to do it to get that inverter moved. And I'm going to try to clean up this wiring a little bit better in here. It's still a bit jumbled up. So I'm going to get to doing that now, and then we're going to try to get this pulled in. I'm going to get muddy and wet. It's a good thing I got to change of clothes. All right, well, the 1-inch pipe that we used to run those last cables this winter, it's too small for me to pull this bigger cable plus both ends through it with the other wires in the pipe. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to make sure that I have enough of that RJ45 cable, that remote cable for this inverter in the room here, tied down good and tight before I pull any more. I actually think it's longer than the other one, so I should be good to go. But just to be sure, I'm going to go ahead and tie it down. We want to tape this well. It's going to have to come up through a hole that's had spray foam. It's going to have to pull off that spray foam. All right, we got the right end. We did. Okay. So, take all this, throw that out there. Right. Again, like many things out here, folks, this is temporary. Keep it out of the way of rats. We're going to want to get in here. We just want to get it up a little bit out of the way. All right, folks, rain, hail, a whole lot of mud crawling under the cabin, messing around in here. The SunGoldPower inverter's installed, working great. Now I'm going to hook up the remote inside the cabin. Then the next step is to go ahead and wire up the generator for the autogen start. 21 volts is better than 0 volts, folks. So we're going to get to that now. It's been crazy. It's almost noon. I've been at it a while. Let's get this inside and get it installed. Exciting stuff. I'm stoked. Let's get to it. Real quick before I go inside, we've got the remote cable run. Everything's tied down. I still got to clip some zip ties here, but everything's tied down. We've got 26.4 volts on the battery. All that's working good. Inverters are running, everything's running. This looks pretty decent. I love having that GFCI plug-in right here. That's kind of handy. If you come back here and you just need to plug something in, I do have a plug there, so it's not like I don't have something. I'm gonna leave this on, get my stuff out of here, and we're gonna go hook up the remote inside and just see how that works. So let's go do that. Oh, let's not dump the tools out though first. You ever do that? You think you've got your toolbox closed and you reach down to pick it up and you end up dumping everything out. Isn't that nice? Luckily I didn't get it all dumped out, folks. Only a bunch. Let's try latching it this time. Oh, muddy. Look at this mud. It's just been one muddy, nasty, muddy day. And I've been crawling around in it. But right now it feels like it's not raining as much, if at all. So that's good. All right. My plan here is to try to mount this somewhere. I've got to cut this out and put a whole new one on here. So for now, it kind of doesn't matter where I put it. I may just leave it up here like that. I think we'll do that. This is, you know, I hope you can hear me all right. I don't have my mic on, but this is backwoods engineering going on. Now that's a bit short. Ooh, that's going to be tight. I could pull it up a bit, but we are tight. All right. So this cable here, I didn't pull in enough, so I couldn't set the remote over here like I wanted to. So I'm going to have to try to tighten that up a little bit and bring some more in, but I zip tied everything down. So I do have it working, so I can push the button. I can see what my voltage is. I can see everything on there, so we're looking good there. And all I've got to do is be able to flick this switch just like this one. So I think all I got to do is get in the back room, turn the inverter off, close it up, come back in here, turn the power back on, see if it works. Oh, it is muddy, gross, wet, still drizzly. Look at this, it's so muddy. If I stand on this here, it just sinks down in the mud. It's just gross, folks. So we'll shut this power off. Boom. And now, well, we only have a couple more tests to do besides hooking up the generator start switch. But I am going to take a break and have some lunch. But first, we'll go in and test this out and see if this actually worked. Okay, here we go. I was going to go to that one. Oh, lights are on. Well, ease of use is another big win with the SunGoldPower inverter. I get to see the status of my solar power system from this intuitive display that SunGoldPower provides with this inverter. I have to tell you, that's a big win. And I know it might seem silly, like a commercial, right? It's not a commercial, folks. Without my trimetric meter hooked up, I have no idea what my battery voltage is. Today, I can see my battery voltage here inside the cabin, no worries. Like before, I've got a remote to turn the power on, but unlike before, I now can see my input and output voltage and my battery voltage. That's a big deal. It also gives me state of charge. Another big win. Folks, easy to use, easy to install. I got to tell you, I'm actually really impressed. I think this is going to be a game changer for me out here at the cabin. So that's what I've got for you today, folks. If you're into off-grid, milling, and all things in between, the old Jarhead's the channel for you. So do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. Really helps the channel out. I'll drop another video right here for you to check out. Thanks for watching, folks. I appreciate it. The old Jarhead out.